Thank you for joining us on the RP Experience. I'm your host, Andrew Regenhard. Today we have Kyle McLaughlin, one of our preferred partners with Real Producers. He is the Chief Sales Officer for Northstar Building Systems. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So we're gonna dive in some unique stuff today. A little bit about Kyle, actually, before we get started, is he's a preferred partner with Real Producer. He has over 15 years of sales experience, seven years here in the real estate industry. He was originally from Santiago, Chile. And I just feel like I have to say Chile, unique when I say that. I'm as white as they come. Kyle moved to Naples with his mother in 2000, and he's actually fluent Spanish speaking as well. And he's a native understanding the Southwest Florida market. Kyle's mission is to provide value and education into the building industry. So welcome, Kyle.
Appreciate it.
We're excited. So Kyle, tell us a little bit about who you are, though.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been here for 23 years now, since 2000, right?
Crazy,
23
right?
years. Time flies, man. I went to elementary school, middle school, and high school here, so I grew up here. When we moved here, I didn't speak a lick of English, so a lot of people get thrown off. It's like Kyle McLaughlin, but I'm Chilean. So it's like,
dude, I was so like,
a lot of people are like, really? You speak Spanish?
Are we talking about the same person?
Yeah.
And first of all, your English is spot on. Like,
thanks.
Like, if you didn't speak Spanish or you didn't speak English when you came here, like, that's
it was like the sink or swim thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you just had to learn.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing journey. I'm so thankful that my mom picked Naples out of all places to move. It was just, it's been cool. I felt like I've grown with Naples as much as Naples has expanded. I've expanded professionally, and it's, I still see like some of the people I went to middle school with. I connect with a lot of my high school teammates from football. I mean, it's really cool to see it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's evolved a lot. I was blown away by the growth of Naples. I've only been here for a short amount of time. And even that time, obviously, it's grown. But, like, I was so naive when I came here because I hear these stories of how small it was and, the dirt roads that are, now monstrous roads and different things. I'm like, wait, really?
This was North Naples, basically. Pine Ridge is like, oh, you're going really north.
Yeah. You're like, whoa, stop it. Now people won't cross Immokalee and whatnot. Right. Well, good. So, let's dive in a little bit about what Northstar Building Systems is.
Yeah. So Northstar Building Systems is the GC side of our company. So it's what we use to build residential and commercial buildings. Northstar Technologies is the parent company that essentially owns all our IP and our patents and things like that. Through Northstar, we use, it's a unique building process. It's unique from the process itself all the way to the material that we're using. So we use a material called fiber reinforced polymer, which is an advanced composite. And we use that in lieu of using wood or concrete block or steel. So like the envelope, what we call the shell of the building, instead of having block one by one, it'll have our FRP wall panels. And instead of having wood trusses, it'll have the FRP trusses. Same thing with the sheathing, the stuff that goes around on top of the trusses.
Using a lot of terms.
Yeah, I know, right? Sorry, technical.
Right? Yeah. I mean, he's passionate, right?
Yeah, I love it. I love this stuff.
So it's composite, right?
Composites, yeah.
So explain like, first of all, like why when they're so you said the walls and the ceiling and stuff like that, but it's still the foundation, right? So we're not changing that. We're just changing the pretty much the home part of it, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So you guys are understanding it's still a home, and it does not going to feel like a box. So let's just start right there, because everyone says, oh, but I want walls and I want color and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like there. Can you even tell from the outside?
You can't. I'm glad you're bringing that up. From the outside, it looks exactly the same as a traditional home. It's really what's going on behind the walls.
So it's not one of those little like boxes. I mean, you guys do technically have those things.
We have those too,
tiny
yeah.
homes. But like, let's not confuse them. But like, it's not what people are first thinking. Like, because I did that, right? Kyle, you showed me it and told me it. I'm like, yeah, I don't want a container box. Right. It's different than that.
Right. Yep. I would say it's comparable to traditional, like a traditional home or a traditional commercial building that you see out there. It's just extremely resilient to impact, to wind, to water, to rust, to termites. Basically, everything that affects our traditional building systems now are unaffected by, our building, I should say, is unaffected by that. Gotcha. So again, the process is prefabricated, which I think it has maybe a negative connotation in the industry. It's the only thing that's prefabricated is the fact that we do everything in our facility, which is right here in Bonita Springs, just north of here.
Right.
All the walls are assembled there, all the trusses are assembled there, and essentially we just flat pack everything out to the job site, and boop, we erect right on site. So we're going back to the block analogy. We're not laying block one by one. We're not doing any assembly on site. Everything's already pre-made. We just connect the Legos basically. Think of it that way. Think of it like Lego building comes with instructions. You just stack them all up and fasten them together, and then everything else is the same way. The drywall, there's still drywall. There's still granite countertops. There's still marble floors. There's still, stainless steel appliances. It's all the same stuff at that point.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How long has this technology been in place?
So the material itself has been around for many years. They use it out in oil rigs out in the Pacific and the Gulf and the Atlantic. But only since 2020 has it been adopted into the building code in residential construction. And that's something that our CEO, my business partner, Paul, did. That was the founding moment of Northstars when we were adopted into the building code back in late 2020.
Gotcha.
And after 2021 was really the first year that we were allowed technically to build homes out of our material, because before it just wasn't in code. Building code knew concrete and knew wood and knew metal. It had no idea what FRP was. So we taught it.
AKA composite.
Composite, yes.
You guys do tiny homes and some other things, right? But give us the smallest, in a sense, job that you guys do, or how you help, and up to the biggest.
Yeah, good question. So right now, the smallest job we have is actually a little guest house in Naples Park. So it's about a 300 square foot little studio that this homeowner wanted to build back there. So we took our tiny home model and just made it even smaller and put it in our backyard. So that's the smallest. And the biggest one we have is down in downtown Naples. It's almost an 8,000 square foot build and multi-million-dollar mansion. So we span all across the scale of very, very small and minimalist all the way up to high-end luxury mansions.
So you're saying, and realistically, if you were, I guess, to predict the future, you probably foresee all of the quote unquote dangerous areas along the beaches, where the hurricane could impact and different things. You might see that slowly get replaced with your product, right?
Yeah, and I think it's just a function of what's going on, right? There's been so many major storms hit our area over the last 3 decades, let's call it. I mean, it's been going on forever, but just in recent memory. And these houses get destroyed, these families lose their home, and then we go back and we build things the same way that they were built all over again. So it's it's just like this insanity circle of things that we keep doing over and over and over again. And that's fine because we didn't know any better. But now that technology has advanced in such a way, construction technology is a thing now where it wasn't before. There's alternative materials, sustainability is a big push. I really feel that that's the way the construction industry is going to go. We can't keep doing things the same way we were doing it 1,000 years ago, building out a block. So
it is so much different, right, in so many ways, and it can withstand a lot of higher winds. It's technically bulletproof, different things. I know it because we've talked about it before. But what are the biggest differences from the composite versus a standard, home?
I would start with the energy efficiency. I think that's one of the more telling differences, where a traditional build will, have a certain insulation value, let's call it. Ours is 5 times the amount of a traditional build, meaning that, in layman's terms, your energy bill is going to be a lot lower because your AC is not earning as much. The consumption of energy in the home isn't as drastic. So we've had energy calcs come in at 50%, meaning that if your FPL bill is $300 a month, it would realistically drop down to $150 because it's energy efficient. So I'd say that's a big one that we lead with a lot. Obviously, the impact rating is cool. I've had people take our material home and light it up with an AR-15, and it's like Kevlar. It just kind of absorbs it, nothing really, and then never penetrates. So it's really cool to see those videos. So that's another. The impact rating is 250 miles an hour. Code right now is only 175.
Wow, that's huge. Yeah, that's 250. So 250. You're 75 mile an hour over code.
Correct. Yep.
That's insane.
Yep, that's in all our wall panels, our roof, everything.
Wow. I mean, we can't go over that too quickly. So you're saying you can give me a bulletproof house?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, cool. I just, from a gun guy, I want to make sure.
Yep.
All right. So obviously withstands, projectiles. It withstands the wind. Mm-hmm. It's more efficient as well. How long does it last?
Gosh, I mean, we've done time studies, life cycle studies, where 100 years there would be maybe 2% degradation on the material itself. So, we had a back in 2020 when we were doing all our testing, we had to do a tremendous amount of testing just to get approved into the building code, and that was one of the big ones, was lifetime studies and just seeing how long this stuff can really last. So the cool thing is, like, well, if it lasts forever, then it's going to just end up in a landfill someday. And what's amazing about our system, it's recyclable, so you can break it down into its base members and then repurpose it again somewhere else. So
that's insane.
Something that you can't do with obviously with organics like wood.
Right.
Termites are a big thing for us. So termites don't like composites; they like wood. So we don't get termite damage ever. Mold doesn't grow on our walls. Yep. So all that stuff is while there's selling points, there are benefits. I think of them as benefits, especially in areas like this that are prone to, disasters, flooding, hurricanes, tornadoes, all the above.
Cons. You've only listed positive, right?
Yeah.
There's always pros and cons. Come on, tell us. There's got to be a hidden agenda, something that you're like, oh, but here it is. Here's the punchline. No. But seriously, what are some downfalls of composite?
I would just say they're harder to source. I mean, they're not as readily available as like wood, right? So, luckily we have, first of all, everything's made in the U.S. So our manufacturers, our suppliers, everybody's in the U.S. We have a great partnership with the company that makes the raw materials out of Bristol, Virginia, and we've never had an issue with lead times with them. Of course, they're a little bit more expensive because it's not as readily available. So if I took a piece of block or a piece of wood for that matter and compared it to a piece of our composite material, we're going to be, I wouldn't say extremely, but I would say would be marginally more expensive than the traditional building systems, right? Where we save a lot of money is the fact that everything's pre-manufactured in our facility. And the erection time is like, if I had to put a number to about 75% quicker than it would be with its, counterparts essentially. So I'm hoping that makes sense. So the material itself is more expensive, but the labor to put it together is significantly cheaper because there's less people required and it's faster.
Right. So let's use some examples here. Let's build a 2,500 square foot house, right? And if we did normal, let's say wood, stone, block, all that kind of stuff, right? Like the traditional way.
Yep.
I don't even know the numbers, but maybe you do. But like, what would be, let's say, a standard building cost of that? And then how does that compare from a percentile to your guys's? From, hey, not only is it building cost, but also like what are we talking here? Is it double?
No, yeah. So that's a great question. It's really only at the most I've seen it 12% higher than traditional materials.
So not much.
So you're making that up, and that's economies of scale, right? So if you're talking about a 1,000 square foot house where that 12% could represent, I don't know, $20,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if we're building something much bigger, then that 12% is going to drop down because we were able to achieve economies of scale. Mm-hmm. So it's really not that big of a difference when you consider the fact that you're saving big money on your electric bill, or considered a higher rated building system, so insurance is going to be cheaper on your homeowners, and you get your build faster, less maintenance over time. You don't have to worry about termites and all the things I've mentioned. And you have a longer lasting asset than you would with any other building system.
All right. You talked about it. Now I'm going to bring it up. There's so much going on in insurance right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what has your feedback been? How has insurance, first of all, is it insurable, right? Yeah. Like it is, right? In that sense, but like, how are they adapting to it? And what are you seeing from a pro standpoint? Are insurance like jumping up and down? Like, hell yeah, you were going to help out, whatnot. But like, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say it's an education process like it is for anybody else. So it's educating the same way I have to educate the market, I have to educate vendors too, including insurance. So we already have the rating from insurance that is considered superior construction process or building system. So that helps in itself. But when they're seeing that, all the benefits we've already talked about, and one that we didn't talk about is our Class A fire rating, which is a huge, huge liability for insurance companies, are obviously fires and a house burning down that they're insuring.
Mm-hmm.
When they see that, most of the time they're like, oh, dude, like we can insure this all day, because I'm essentially hedging their bet, right? I'm protecting their liability. So as we gain more, brand awareness, notoriety, like people understand what we're doing, I think the insurance rates might come down even more. But for now, we're already seeing big discounts for homeowners.
That's cool. Talk about the fire rating.
Fire rating's awesome. So we're Class A fire rated. It's the only residential home building system in the world that I know of, at least, that has any sort of class or fire rating to it. So it's funny, we put fire ratings on commercial buildings where we have our businesses, but at home where we have our spouses and our kids, there's no fire rating. There's no code. There's no standard for fire. So it's just kind of silly to think about that you wouldn't protect more, your home than you would your commercial buildings. But nonetheless, being the first one to be able to claim that is pretty important for us from an insurance standpoint. But let's face it, from a safety standpoint, right? We've had fires here locally, even recently in the estates, where people's homes have burnt to the ground in a matter of minutes. I mean, I'm telling you, Class A fire rating is 1 hour. But 1 hour that, your structure will not be compromised from a fire rating from, obviously, I can't control your cabinets going on fire, right? But the structure of your building will be intact.
1 hour. That's a long time.
It's a long time. Yep.
You see those safe commercials and like, oh, we can withstand whatever. I'm like, I don't know. Fire is miraculous,
Yeah.
So that's crazy. But you're so true, right? Our loved ones, our pets, our everything are in there, right? Give us a little bit more time. If only we had, a little bit more time to grab everyone, that'd be huge.
That's huge. That's huge for us. I know it's huge for, our consumers and obviously insurance industries too, or, insurance companies, I should say.
Yeah.
So that's always been a big feature for us.
What about commercial? Do you guys do commercial?
Yeah. I would say commercial is actually one of our biggest markets because of the most commercial developers tend to build and hold. So from a maintenance standpoint, they're realizing a lot of efficiencies on their initial investment. A commercial like our wall panels, we can put them up to 50 stories high. So we're exposure D-rated, which means that a structure up to 50 stories high could withstand, that goes back to the impact rating, withstands a 250 mile an hour impact rating. And it's rated for Miami-Dade. So meaning I could build a commercial high-rise 50 stories up in Miami out of our system.
Question, how, and maybe this is dumb, but like, how is it all, like it's pre-constructed, right? So how is it all like, in a sense, like connected together?
Yeah, that's a good point. So we use, you can't nail into the system, so nothing's nailed together. Everything's screwed and epoxied together. We have this, again, not to get too technical, but think of it like welding, but for composites. It's an epoxy that chemically reacts to the composites and it welds them together. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
For the listeners, I was at the facility and he's like, hey, take this huge sledgehammer and try to like break it. And I gave it my all, and it looked at me like like a mosquito landed on it. Like it literally did nothing. I was just like, okay, it's tough stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's what we're going for. We want you to feel safe in your home. It's just like we've had people come to us and say, hey, can you build a doomsday bunker, or can you make a panic room or a safe room or something like that? And absolutely, those are all things that we can do.
So I'm a buyer, and I hear that you have this to offer now, and I'm all about it, right? Let's say I'm like, let's go. What are the process? Like, how do you go about doing it? Let's say I have a builder, I don't have a builder already. Is that something you can like work with builders? Is it something I have to use you guys exclusively? Like, how's that process?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we can work whether you have a builder or you don't have a builder, we can work with you. So with builders, we would just provide the shell, essentially the envelope of the home, and then let them do all the stuff that they're talented at doing, like putting the inside together, the cabinets, the flooring, the countertops, the outside, all that. Obviously for your end user or your buyer, your person that wants to build a home that doesn't have a builder, we provide everything is in-house. So like our design team is in-house, our engineering is in-house. Obviously the construction is in-house. So from when we call from napkin sketch all the way to certificate of occupancy, where you turn the key and move into your home, we handle the complete process on that. And it's a simple process. I mean, the only thing that we don't control is permitting. Standard for the county is anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. And, right now they're a little bit more backed up because of the storm, but for the most part, it's a pretty consistent 2 months that we're waiting on permits to come through. But the beauty is that during that time, we can still start pre-assembling some of the wall panels that have already been permitted so that we know can be pre-approved. So like a value proposition for the builders and for end users too is, boom, you got your permit, you're ready to go start clearing your lot. You're digging your holes, you're building your foundation, you're pouring your slab and all that. At that point, with traditional builds, then you can finally bring in the block and start laying it in, right? But for us, during the whole process that I just mentioned, we could start prefabricating the wall panels in-house. So by the time that slab is poured and cured, our wall panels can already be done. So that way I can just ship them out the next day once you tell me the slab's ready to go.
That's awesome.
So that saves you, literally saves you months off the build time.
I was just going to say, so, okay. Yeah, that really speeds up everything. what limitations do you have when you're building? Like what have you ran into that it's like, we can't do this, you know, or something like, there's gotta be something, you know?
Outside of, again, I keep going back to the word education because I feel like it's all I do in my role. I mean, I'm selling, but I'm selling through education because I need to make people aware of what we're doing. If we're in a new jurisdiction that we've never been in before, so essentially a new county or a new city, so I have to go in front of a new building board, that would be, it's almost not a limitation, but it's just an extra step. I have to now go get acquainted with the building officials, do a pre-permit meeting so I can tell them, hey, this is, I'm going to submit these permits. They're going to look a little crazy. You're not going to know what's going on, but here's what we got. And we have our building approval. We have a Florida product approval. We have everything you need. And then it might take them a few extra weeks to review that if it's the very first one in that county or that city. Outside of that, from a building standpoint, I really can't think of anything that can be built. Even like the shipping container things now, which I think are aesthetically, they look really cool. They're modern. They're minimalist. Right. Dude, you can't just buy like a $5,000 shipping container from like off a boat and use it as a home. That's not permittable. So like it's not a thing it's a little bit misleading. You have to still insulate it. You have to do a lot of things to get it habitable, right? So we build those too, except we build them out of our composites and they're habitable and ready to go. That's
so cool.
Yeah.
So where do you see the building industry, right, residential and commercial, in the next 5 years, in regards to composite?
Yeah, great question. So from a macro standpoint, I feel construction technology is really something that big industries are getting into. Big hedge funds are driving capital behind these construction technology companies and startups. So I think as a whole industry, builders will become more knowledgeable and more efficient with the way that they build homes. That's going to naturally lead them to alternative building materials and systems, which then is going to propagate all the way down to your end user, and they're going to start seeing more quality. I would compare it to real estate a lot, where in the past, you didn't have a Zillow, you didn't have Realtor.com, you couldn't just go on Google and type in an address and get information on comps, get information on the neighborhood, get information on, what's available for sale and what isn't, right? With construction, it's lagging a little bit behind, but people are becoming more knowledgeable in general. Like how my house just got flooded, my house just got destroyed by Ian. What can I do in the future to make sure that doesn't happen to me again, so I don't have to go through this ever again? Simple Google search will tell you, here's what you were building with in the past, here's alternative methods that would be more resilient to this if it ever happened in the future. So, I talked about macro. Now on a micro level, you have your end users just being more knowledgeable about what's actually going on behind the walls. And I feel like in the past, maybe they just haven't been properly educated, they haven't taken the time to learn. It's a lot. I mean, when you said at the beginning, like, throwing a lot of terms, it's very technical because it is, dude. I mean, it's engineering, right?
Oh, for sure.
Not everybody. I'm not even an engineer. I don't understand half the stuff I say sometimes, but it makes sense, right? So from that standpoint, is the end user being a little bit more educated and understanding what's going on behind their walls and investing more money in that? Because you can always change your cabinets, you can always change your countertops, you can always change your floors. You can't change what your house is built out of. Just tear it down and build a new one at that point. Right. And that's where we come into play.
I love it. Love it. Kyle, this has been absolutely amazing to talk about what Northstar has to offer. And obviously you're passionate about it. We are running out of time here. So I just wanted to say thank you for sharing the insight. Obviously, if they have more questions, they can reach directly out to you or your team. But wow, like, this is going to change the industry. Like, what you guys are doing, first of all, kudos, right? Let's create something safer for, from a wind standpoint, from a health reasons, right? Mold, to a fire, right? Like, you guys are creating something that's safer, more efficient, different things like that. So I just want to say that's amazing. Kudos to obviously the founder too that had the idea, and
absolutely,
that patent and everything like that. So Kyle, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being a partner for Real Producers. And I just want to say thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, as always, RP Experience Extreme is still thrilled to have you on here. We're here at Venture X in the podcast studio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. See you.